Welcome back to another video here in the channel. Today I'm going to do a different kind of video here. So recently I finally finished the 2013 and 2014 throwback roster I've been working on all year. Since the month of October, I've been working on it full time because I had modern rosters, pivoting and shit like that. Yeah, I was going back and forth on it, but ever since like the trade deadline, I've been working solely on it before I uploaded it. So yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of rundown of it. I'm going to show you guys the rosters, how to set it up, and yeah. So first off, I'm going to show you guys the name of the roster. If you're on PS4, you're going to be able to download it. It's too bad that it's not cross-platform. Hopefully we can have rosters cross-platform, just in case I'm not able to actually be on PS5 next year in NHL 24. Still a chance that doesn't happen. So hopefully EA adds cross-platform rosters. So before I get right into it, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and down below you can tell me what you think of it, some fixes I can make for next year, and yeah. So first off, it's called 2013-2014 throwback roster. It's the only roster that has this name, so you should be able to find it. I already got 70 downloads on it in the first 2 weeks of it being out, so whoever downloaded, thanks for the support. And maybe I could have other rosters down the road in the next few years, but this is my first throwback roster I've been working on. So again, it took a bit longer than it should have in some way because it's lack of experience. But yeah, man, let's get right into the roster. First off, I'm gonna go through the roster, and then I'm gonna go through the jerseys second. Then after that, well, yeah, the rosters, all the guys and the prospects gonna be included. And then after that, I'm gonna go to the play now screen, show you guys the jerseys that I made for the teams. And I've been trying to recreate as realistic as I could. If you want, you can use the EA default teams. I put all the players there anyways, so yeah, you can pretty much choose what you want. I would recommend using the custom teams because you're gonna have the realistic main jerseys and shit like that, because not every jersey is the same as today. I mean, hell, the roster is like 9 years old, 2013, 2014, and like I said, it's pretty much probably my favorite hockey year. So this is why I decided to go through that. So, oh yeah, you saw my builds there. I'm going to be working on another modern update, but that's going to be a pretty big one. That's going to be coming maybe in like 2 months or something like that, after free agency. But yeah, let's fly right through it. Custom teams. So as you see here, you have the Anaheim Ducks as first team, alphabetical order, no shit. And yeah, they were second in the league, so they finished right behind the President's Trophy Boston Bruins. So as you see, you have Getzlaf and Perry, who were entering their prime at the time, looking pretty good. These Ducks teams were pretty annoying to play against. Ask pretty much any Oilers fan, especially Corey Perry. Matthew Perreault, he had a 1-year thing with them. Francois Beauchemin, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Nick Bonino. Andrew Cogliano, and as you see here, he's always been durable, a great skater as well. He's always been that way. Ben Lovejoy, Teemu Selanne in his last season in the NHL. Interesting guy here, Patrick Maroon. You have young Cam Fowler and young Hampus Lindholm. So as you see, both high 4. If you want to get on with the Ducks, it's a team that's going to have a few guys, a few core guys to build around. Jacob Silverberg, first year after the trade between him and Bobby Ryan, sending Bobby Ryan to the Senators. Saku Koivu in his last year. Cal Palmieri, he's another guy you can pretty much build around with this core. You have Ricard Raquel, 20-year-old Ricard Raquel, he was barely there. Sami Vatanen. So the Ducks are they overachieved that year if you look at the roster, but they're a up-and-coming team pretty much in the franchise. Giannis Hiller is last year as a Duck, and then you have 2 goalies here, Frederick Anderson and young John Gibson, who he jumped into the playoffs. He was thrown in the fire. They had injuries, and again, it was pretty much a mess. It was a pretty big mess. They lost in the second round in 7 games to the eventual Stanley Cup champs, the LA Kings. So as you see here, you have the Boston Bruins, the President's Trophy winners here. Let's start with the forward core. Patrice Bergeron entering his prime. A 25-year-old Brad Marchand. Yeah, he turned out pretty good here. Milan Lucic at 25. It was pretty much the prime of the big bad Bruins, basically. It was pretty much their prime. Jerome McGinley, he had a 1-year thing with them, 36-year-old Jerome McGinley. Louis Eriksson, it was his first year with the Bruins after the Tyler Seguin trade. You have Riley Smith, young Riley Smith. He was part of a return for Tyler Seguin. Kyle Soderberg, he was always a solid player in the league. Daniel Paille, he was just around. And then you're going to have the fourth line here. I mean, Gregory Campbell, Sean Thornton. Yeah, Goons basically. Chris Kelly. He was an underrated defensive forward. The defensive core, Zdeno Chara, Johnny Boychuk, a young Dougie Hamilton, a young Torrey Krug, Adam McQuaid, and Matt Bartkowski. By the way, I'm going to start this off, not start this off, but a little disclaimer. I was not able to get every player on the team, or else I would have had like 10 defensemen on this team. EA has a creative player limit at 600 skaters. Yeah, 600 skaters and 200 goalies. So I tried to cut off the players who played less games or players who got injured. So a guy like Dennis Seidenberg, he would have been here, but he got injured. He got injured. And same for guys like Kevin Miller, even. But yeah, it's the reality. Hopefully they do something about it, because 600 skaters is way too little. And I'm going to explain it further in a future video idea that I have in the works. But yeah, that was pretty much my hope. Tuukka Rask at 95 overall. He was very good. He won the Vezina that year. He pretty much earned that big contract that was kicking in. And then you have Chad Johnson as a backup. So this is the Boston Bruins. They lost in the second round. And here you go. You're going to have the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah, a pretty bad team. This is a pretty bad team here. A pretty tragically bad team. They were the worst team in the league that year. they didn't win the lottery, but they were the worst team in the NHL that year. You have the legend John Scott was part of that team as well. Defensively, the only very good player is Christian Ehrenhoff. He was a very underrated player in the past generation. He was a very good defenseman. You have Jamie McBain, the man Tyler Myers, young Rasmus Ristolainen, Braden McNabb, and Jake McCabe. Goaltending, it's all right. Jonas Enron and Michael Neuvert. But yeah, the worst team in the league. You pretty much expect a lot of trash. The Calgary Flames, they were in the first year of a rebuild. So Brad Treliving, he was pretty new to this Flames team, so they started rebuilding. Yeah, Mike Camilleri's last year. He was an underrated player when he played. Gary Hudler was here still. A young Michael Backlund. You have Chris Russell, was pretty good. Dennis Weidman, the man himself. A young Sean Monahan. A young Johnny Gaudreau. You have Joe Colborne. And Paul Byron. So goaltending wise, it was pretty tragic. I mean, yeah, you tried to just be terrible. Pretty bad goaltending wise. I did international teams, but you can pretty much look up the rosters online and see that I pretty much replicated them for Canada and USA. But yeah, Alexander Semin, he was still there for the Hurricanes. A young Jeff Skinner. Jordan Staal, he was still 25 years old, and it's the first year of that extremely long contract to stay with his brother. And we all know a year later his brother ditched him for the Rangers. So it didn't really matter. And to this day, Jordan Staal is still with the team. You have, again, Ron Hainsey. He's he's not much in his prime anymore. Andre Sekera, he was still 27 at the time. Yuri Tolusti, Riley Nash, Andrei Loktionov. He didn't last long in the league, but he was pretty good. He was a pretty good player when he was. So he'd be fun to play around with as like a top 9 forward, a top 9 talented guy. Justin Falk, he's 20. You have the man himself, Nathan Gerby. I couldn't make him 5'4", unfortunately. So yeah, EA Sports is in the game, I guess. So yeah, you have Radek Dvorak, his final legs, Animal Ultra, and a young Elias Lindholm. And goaltending, Cam Ward, Anton Godobin, and Justin Peters. Chicago. So you pretty much had the dynasty for Chicago. Crawford, very underrated player, and Antti Ranta. Defensively, Keith Seabrook, Hjalmarsson, Leddy, Roosevelt, and Oduya. So they're very, very, very stacked. Duncan Keith was him in his prime. And talking about being him, Jonathan Toews, he is the top 3 player in the league. And he was 25 at the time. By the way, due to stupid AI stuff, I had to add their contracts, their other contracts in, because one of them would always walk in franchise mode, and it would be unrealistic. So, yep, I just had to keep the realism because the AI is tragic at times. But yeah, Brendan Saad, he was that good this early in his career. Marin Hossa was still 34. Patrick Sharp, Again, another very underrated player. Andrew Shaw. Yep, him. They still had Chris Versteeg. He was on his second stint on the team because he was on the 2010 team. Left, came back. Brian Bickle. He was a pretty hefty contract for him, but dude, he was pretty much doing it all for them, so it worked out. Marcus Kruger, top 9 guy. Ben Smith as well, and they have a young Tuva Teravainen and Mial Hanzus, legend. So Colorado, this was Patrick Roy's first year as a coach. It was pretty much the year he came in. The year before, the Avs finished last in the league, and they got McKinnon as a result. So as you see, a very, very young core you can work with. Duchesne, O'Reilly, Stastny, he's still 27. Gabriel Landeskog, the captain. He was, at the time, he became the youngest captain in NHL history. You have Milan Hajduk, who pretty much gave it to him before he retired. Pia Parento was pretty good before he eventually fell off like 2 years later. Alex Tanguay, another stint with them. But again, in their first cup, in their last cup, before the one they won in 2022, he was pretty much a hero for them. Jamie McGinn, he was involved in a pretty stupid trade by Buffalo. They pretty much gave up a few assets that became key contributors to the Avs to this day. Guys like Nikita Zadorov, JT Compher, other picks. I mean, Buffalo just went in and said, yeah, a guy who's just okay should be getting a bunch of assets, a bunch of decent guys, and yeah, it's Buffalo, so who cares? Nathan McKinnon, he wasn't Nathan McKinnon we know today, so there's that. Maxim Talbot, fun guy. Cody McLeod, legend himself, and yeah, defensively, the defense was pretty weak. I mean, young Tyson Barrie, young Eric Johnson. Yeah, a few veterans like Jan Heda and Corey Sarich, basically. Pretty mid-veterans. And Andre Benoit, who's just been a solid defenseman his entire career. Semyon Varlamov, 25-year-old, already in 88. And then you had Judge Giguère and Reto Berra. Judge Giguère, he was in his final year of his career. Columbus is a pretty mid team. It was their second time ever making the playoffs. But yeah, pretty much Nick Foligno, he was still pretty young. Cam Atkinson was still pretty young. Ryan Johansson, he was supposed to be their guy until they just traded him away for Seth Jones. Seth Jones has been their guy for a good minute before everything went to shit. But yeah, Artem Anisimov, Matt Calvert. So they have a few young guys here. They have a lot of young guys. But yeah, they have Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was pretty mid for most of his career, but you know he was okay at some point. David Savard, a young David Savard. So if you want to be the Blue Jackets in a franchise, you have some guys to work it. You have some guys to work with, but not a lot of guys. Ryan Murray. I mean, his durability is going to be trash, so you're going to have to deal with that. But again, he was a pretty good D-man in his prime. Boone Jenner. Yeah, it's you have some pieces to work with. They were pretty much a team looking to be on the up, but yeah, they were always mid. Sergei Bobrovsky, He's your guy in net. So if you want to be Columbus, you're pretty set. You have a bunch of international teams and all-star teams. If you want to look at a quick glance at that, the Dallas Stars, they were another team looking to be on the up. Because look, as you see, you have Jamie Benn, 24-year-old Jamie Benn. They were really good, and I think that, hey, injuries really derailed both of their careers in the past few years. Tyler Seguin was not healthy, and you started seeing both of them start to have a little bit of resurgence. So that's a good thing for Dallas, especially when they have a young core already today. He was pretty underrated. Goligoski, pretty underrated. Antoine Roussel, he's going to be a good defensive guy for you, a pest, we can say. Eric Cole was an underrated guy, too. Colton Sevier, Brennan Dillon, the guy you want. Trevor Daley, he was very exciting player to watch. Cody Eakin, before shit hit the fan with him the past few years. Sergei Gonchar, second last year in the league. He was pretty bad. It was pretty much all offense, no defense, but he was pretty washed, 39 years old. What can you do? Jamie Alexiak, Alex Chasson, Valery Nikushkin. He's turned into a very, very good player after not figuring it out with his finishing and shit like that. He spent the whole year without scoring a goal, but he's totally figured it out in Colorado. So good on him. In net, you're gonna have Kari Lehtinen. Tim Thomas, he's pretty much in his last legs, basically. He was done after that, but he's still an 83 overall, after all. And Jack Campbell, yeah, he played a game for them, so I decided to put him on the team instead of the minors. But in franchise mode, he's gonna be a guy you want to grow. So yeah, Detroit. You had the Empire that started to fall a bit with 2 years before you had Lindstrom retiring. Zetterberg and Datsuk are still amazing. Of course they are. The best two-way forward of all time, Pavel Datsuk, by the way. Daniel Alfredson, Alfie. I'm not even thinking straight. Alfie. He spent the year with the Red Wings before retiring. Nicholas Kronwall. Again, it's a team that started going down. It was starting to end, but they were still trying to push. Ken Holland was trying to push, and it really cost them. It really cost them in the long run, which is why they're here today. He completely put them into cap hell for a few years. But yeah, you don't have a ton of guys to work with, if you want to blow it up. But Thomas Tatar, Gustav Nyquist, Danny DeKaiser, and Luke Glendening and Riley Shahan. These are a few guys. Jimmy Howard, 88 overall, so you can work out with him. And Peter Mrazek. Yeah, people often forget he was with the Red Wings. Next up, Edmonton. Edmonton has a lot of firepower on offense, and overall a lot of guys to work with. You have Eberle, Taylor Hall, and David Perron as well. You also had Nuge, who's 20 years old. Sam Gagner as well. Nel Yakupov ended up being a bust, but alright, man. He's not going to grow at all, if you're wondering. Jeff Petrie, he's 25. He's not gonna grow much. I put him medium elite to just try, but it's not gonna happen. Justin Schultz. Brad Larson. And then you had a bunch of bad. Mark Arcobello and Yessi Iwansu. Oscar Clefbaum is another guy I can work with, I guess. Goaltending, Ben Scrivens, he was pretty solid, especially for a shitty team. So there's Edmonton. All offense, no defense, and a bunch of underachieving. They were pretty bad. That's all I'm going to say. Finland, if you want a quick glance here, there you go. Florida was a pretty bad team as well. They were pretty bad. They won the lottery, and they were second worst in the league. So they pretty much jumped Buffalo to draft Aaron Ekblad. Jonathan Huberdeau, again, a pretty weak team. You have Alexander Barkov, Brendan Peary, if you want to. He's not going to grow. Nick Bukestad, Vincent Trocheck. So you have a few guys to work with. You have a little core. Brian Campbell was still very good at the time, even at 34 years old. Tom Gilbert was okay, I guess. Eric Goodbranson was Eric Goodbranson. Then you had Ed Jovanovski, who was the captain of the team. He's been pretty much there forever, but hey. And you have Dmitry Kulikov. We can forget him. Roberto Luongo, he was out of his prime, but he was still very good. Very good. Dan Ellis and Scott Clemenson. Bad team, of course. The Kings, the Stanley Cup winning LA Kings. Anze Kopitar leading the charge. And Drew Doughty as well. Marin Gaborik. He was in a deadline pickup. Jake Muzzin. He was drafted by the Penguins, which is something I didn't know until like last year. He was drafted by them. Jeff Carter, right? Dustin Brown, Alec Martinez, Slava Voinov. He was a very good player before that incident happened. Very good player. Willie Mitchell was pretty good even at 36. Tyler Toffoli was coming along. Dwight King was an analytical darling before he just went to Montreal and fell off in 2017 and never got a chance again. Mike Richards fell off a cliff, pretty much. Tanner Pearson, he's going to be a good top 9 guy if you want him to. And then Kyle Clifford. And then Jeff Schultz as a death piece. He's an alumni, so he's gonna be 27, and he was 27 at the time, so I decided to add him. Minnesota. This was the second year. Actually, wait, second year or first year? Whatever it is, these big contracts, they were good at first. They were good. I can't say they weren't. And Jared Spurgeon was underrated even back then. Giannis Brodin, again, Marco Scandella. So they have a lot of guys you can pretty much build around. A lot of young players. Nino Niederreiter, who scored the iconic game-winning goal in Game 7 against the Avs to quote-unquote upset them, but I don't really consider it an upset. Minnesota is easily the better team, especially on the defense. Minnesota had three defensemen better than Eric Johnson. Now you see a few guys, Haula and Jason Zucker. Now you see here goaltending. It was a big mess for goaltending. Honestly, Josh Harding got injured, but his analytics are good enough for him to be an 85 in the math. Brizgalov, he played a playoff game. It was pretty much Brizgalov and Kemper in the playoffs. Nicholas Backstrom was injured. He was injured, and he was pretty bad as well. So Harding and Backstrom, they were just there, but it was a lot of injuries. It was a lot of injuries here. Montreal, they went to the Final Four, and as you see, you have the core Subban, Pacioretty, Gallagher, who was already good at that time. Markov, he was still a solid OFD. Desharnais was underrated. Georges, good. Lars Eller, he was underrated as well. Plekanec, Brian Gianna. Danny Briere, he only spent 1 year with the team, but yeah, he was still all right. Alex Galchenyuk at 19 years old. Medium 6 is pretty much his peak. So yeah, Dale Weiss, love the dude. And yeah, man, Rene Bourque was mid. That's all I'm gonna say. You have Carey Price, Dustin Tokarski, and Peter Budaj. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The backup goalie, we do not talk about it. Alright, so Nashville, they didn't make the playoff. They barely missed. You're going to have a very good, a lot of fun. You're pretty much set. If you're going to rebuild Nashville, you're set on the defensive core, especially the young guys. Yossi, Ellis, Del Zotto, Ekholm, Seth Jones. You're pretty set. And then you're going to have Pekka Rinne here. And then you have... they have UC Saros in the system. They have UC Saros in the system, who's a medium franchise. So Nashville is going to be a very, very good team in the sim if you want to take them over and pretty much make them a juggernaut. Because you pretty much have Rinne, who's pretty much at the end. He was pretty overrated. I mean, his analytics were never that good. And then you have a successor, who might even be better. But yeah, New Jersey, Yager and Andy Green, they were pretty good. Patrick Elias, 37 years old, still very underrated. Adam Henrique, underrated player in this era. Even today, he's still underrated. I think he's still underrated. He's still a good player. I mean, even on a Ducks team, on a terrible Ducks team, historically bad Ducks team, his analytics still remained intact almost. And they have Adam Larson. The trade is 1-for-1. So New Jersey, a pretty old team. Yeah, but you have a few beauties like Yager and Elias. And in goal, you have the man Corey Schneider, who had probably dude, he was amazing. Prime Corey Schneider before 2017, 2018, he was amazing. And Marty Brodeur, he's pretty much last legs, done. And I don't think he would be even that high, even in the analytics era, but I need to see. The Islanders, a pretty bad team, is all I'm gonna say. John Tavares, young John Tavares, 23. Cal Pozo, Travis Hamonic was very good at some point. Same for Thomas Hickey. Vishnowsky, Lubomir Vishnowsky, at 37 years old, was still there. Josh Bailey at the time, again. You're gonna have a few pieces to work with. I mean, Josh Bailey, John Tavares, Al Opozo. I mean, you have the goons. You have the goons, Clutterbuck, Colin McDonald, Casey Cizikas, Matt Martin, bro. A bunch of goons in that team, bro. I mean, it wasn't good after all. But yeah, they have young Brock Nelson, young Anders Lee, young Scott Mayfield, and Calvin DeHaan. Goaltending, Evgeny Nabokov is their goalie. Anders Nielsen and Kevin Poulin are going to be the backups. Who are the backups? The Rangers, Mark St. Louis. He was traded for Ryan Callahan from Tampa. It was a pretty petty reason, but I won't even get into it. A young Ryan McDonough. You have Matt Zuccarello, Anton Strawman, Rick Nash. He was out of his prime, but he was still good. And you have Derek Stepan at 23 years old. 86. He's. But yeah, he was pretty much. He was very good. Prime Stepan was pretty good, very good. But yeah, Brad Richards with that immense contract. I mean, to this day, the Rangers are still paying him, despite having bought it out. I think after this year. I don't know, man. I have no clue if they bought it out. Wait, he was with the Blackhawks the year after, so I think they did. Yeah, it was a massive contract. And nowadays, they're still paying him. They're still paying to this day. But yeah, Chris Kreider, he's a medium elite. He's a young guy. He's a young guy you can work with. The Rangers had a good team. JT Miller and John Moore. Hank is going to be in goal. Cam Talbot, he's an 80 overall. But Henrik Lundqvist, 96 overall. He was amazing. The Ottawa Senators. Erik Karlsson, 23 years old. The best defenseman in the league. Yeah, the best defenseman in the build at 23 years old. Yeah, Jason Spezza last year in Ottawa. Bobby Ryan and Clark MacArthur. He couldn't stay healthy. But he was very underrated, man. Kyle Turris, high top six guy. He was pretty good. He was very good in his prime. Mihalek Alesemsky, he was a rental for them, and they barely missed the playoffs. Mika Zibanejad, he's a guy you want to work with if you're taking the Sens. Jared Cowan, terrible. Chris Phillips was washed. Chris Neal, I mean, entertaining player, but hey, he wasn't very good. He wasn't very good. Zach Smith, another young guy, Eric Greiba, and you have Cody Ceci. And then you have Mark Stone, who I'm thinking of upping his potential, but I'm going to do that next year. I'm not making any other changes with this roster. But yeah. And then you have Mike Hoffman and JG Pajot. So Ottawa has a lot of young guys here that you can work with if you want to be the Ottawa Senators in a franchise mode. Craig Anderson, Robin Lehner, Andy Hamburger. Great times. The Flyers, they were a playoff team. Young Giroux, Jacob Voracek. I mean, Jacob Voracek was so good. Kimmo Timonen was holding on still. He was very, very good. At 38 years old. 88 at 38. Very good. Mark Streit, 35, 87 overall. Still putting up points at the time. Wayne Simmons, you'll love to see it. Scott Hartnell. Matt Reed surprisingly came out a high overall. And Braden Shen, Vincent Le Cavalier. So, yeah, he signed that big contract with the Flyers. Didn't seem to even work out. Yeah. Sean Couturier, Steve Downey, young Luke Shen. Yeah, Michael Raffle was a pretty good top 9 guy. And yeah, that's pretty much it there. And Steve Mason, 25, and Ray Emery. He was pretty cooked at 31. The Coyotes. Since the Coyotes are going to be a fun team, they're going to be a fun team to play with in the franchise mode. And they're pretty OP. But yeah, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, young him. Keith Yandel, you'll love to see it. Shane Doan. Radim Vergara was, you know, he was always a guy who was like here, but he was never like a superstar. But he would always produce. I mean, he was a pretty underrated guy. Zbigniew Mihalek, yeah, a good DFD. Mike Ribeiro, in his prime, he was very good. He's still good. Martin Hansel, decent. Antoine Vermette, he was always that decent guy. He was never that superstar, but he was decent always. Mikhail Bodker, all right. High 6 for Michael Stone, and Connor Murphy, medium 4. And I just decided to have Paul Bissonnette. Why not? And Derek Morris. He was on the team forever, but washed at this point. Mike Smith, a 92 overall, one of the best goalies in the builds. And Thomas Greiss, who was always a decent guy. He was always a backup, but he was never a starter. He was never like starting caliber. And then you have the Penguins. What I'm going to say, this team is a joke. I mean, look. Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Kunitz, James Neal, Paul Martin, Dupuis. I mean, if you want to be the Penguins, you're pretty much set. You're set to contend for the first 5 years, 5, 8, 10 years of the franchise. I mean, they sim very well. Pretty much. And yeah, you have guys like Jake Gensel in the system as well. So you're not done. And Marc-Andre Fleury and Jeff Sackhoff. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Fleury, Russian team. If you want to. Yeah, I forgot to do the numbers, but whatever. San Jose. So they're the team I'm going to be planning to do as a franchise. Spoiler to that. But yeah, it's very impressive how they just managed to not win a Stanley Cup with this core. With the core of Thorin, Pavelski. Dude. You sometimes just feel bad. I mean, to me, it feels like Joe Pavelski, he's the Chris Paul of the NHL. He has to be the Chris Paul of the NHL. Antiniemi was a good goalie, but again, they haven't won a cup after all these years of contending. This is just disappointing. They had the best teams. Having not won the cup. Very sad. But yeah, the Blues, again, very good team until they really got it done in 2019. I mean, still had a lot of these guys. But yeah, that bottom six of the Blues was a bunch of menace. I mean, bro, you have Brendan Morrow, Steve Ott, Maxime Lapierre, and Ryan Reeves. And Roman Polak on defense. And Barrett Jackman. That is literally... You have a bunch of menaces. And David Backes as well. I mean... That team is full of menaces. These Blues teams, man. Brian Elliott, and they picked up Ryan Miller at the deadline, saving him from Buffalo. But you know what happened. They ran into Chicago and 2-0 lead, and yeah, it evaporated because Chicago is good and they own St. Louis. But yeah, that was when the Central Division was fun. And now you see Sweden. Quick glance. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a team that's a dynasty in the making. In the system, you have Andre Vasilevsky in the system. And then you're going to have Yanni Gourde and Jonathan Marchessault in the system as well. And Jonathan Drouin as well. So you have a few guys who are there. A dynasty in the making. And then you have a lot of young guys. Stamkos, 95. 23. Hedman, 22. 88. Alex Killorn. And then you have Andre Palat. Tyler Johnson. And then you have Nikita Kucherov. And Vladislav Nemesnikov. It was all something in the making. And keep Radko Dugutis, by the way. Keep him. And then Ben Bishop. And Anders Lundberg. And Kristas Gudlevskis. Yeah, it's a dynasty in the making. Because this is, it's like if you want to be Tampa, you're gonna be blessed. You're gonna be spoiled with talent. And here's the Leafs. Not a terrible team. I mean, Phil Kessel is very good. Phil is him. Nazem Kadri was already very good. I mean, yeah. You have Tyler Bozak, Joffrey Lupul. If it's not for injuries, man. If it's not for injuries, this dude was very good. Cody Franzen was underrated. James Van Riemsdyk. Carl Gunnarsson was pretty good as well. Jake Gardiner in OFD. Dion Phaneuf was washed, but okay. They had Mason Raymond on the team. And then Morgan Riley. That's pretty much it. I mean, they don't have a ton of guys who are young, but yeah, you can pretty much work with. And then you have Jonathan Bernier and James Reimer, who a pretty good tandem. U.S. Olympic team, if you want to see. The Vancouver Canucks. I think the Canucks had an okay team. I mean, the Canucks didn't finish well in the standings that year, but they had John Tortorella. It was a big mess. Tom Sestito, look at him. Zach Cassian. But yeah, they had a bunch of decent. I mean, they had the Sedins, Kessler his last year, Alex Burrows. And then their defense was pretty good back then. I mean, if you look at it, Dan Hamhuis was pretty underrated, and same for Jason Garrison. But yeah, their tandem, they traded away Luongo, so they have Eddie Lack and Jacob Markstrom, the guy who they got back from the Luongo trade. Washington, Alex Ovechkin. I mean, Alex Ovechkin. That's pretty much all I'm going to say. John Carlson. And then you have Dmitry Orlov as a guy who was already this good, who's already this underrated. back then. Marcus Johansson, 22. So you have a few pieces to work with. Tom Wilson at 19 years old. Evgeny Kuznetsov as well. So Washington is not bad at the moment. You have Braden Holtby, who's already this good at 24 years old, at 86 overall. Halak was a deadline pickup that, they barely missed the playoffs, so they just let him walk. And then Philip Grubauer was a good goalie overall. In his prime, he was a good goalie. Winnipeg, the last team here. Blake Wheeler, Dustin Byfuglien. I mean, they were in a stacked division, but they would have probably made the playoffs if they were in the Pacific. But yeah, a decent team. You have Evander Kane at 22. Brian Little was a pretty underrated player in his prime as well. But yeah, injuries screwed him over in the past few years. And he's not even playing ever again. Young Mark Scheifele. You have the young Ben Chirot, who was pretty good for a few years, until like 2019. And then people pretended like he was still good, but he was not. After 2019, he was just mid for 2 years, and then just right now is terrible. But yeah, they're gonna have Connor Hellebuck in the system, by the way, and for now they have Andre Pavlik and Al Montoya. Mid and bad, just straight up ass. So these are the teams. I'm going to show you guys a few prospects before I go to the jerseys. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So as you see, at first, Aaron Ekblad, he was the first guy from the draft class. Erie Otters, I'm going to have guys like Connor McDavid. Yeah, nothing else to explain the rating. Alex DeBrincat, he's another from draft class. Cal McCarr is from the 2017. So I'm gonna have a lot of guys. I have a lot of guys in the drafts because these are very good drafts. But yeah, I'm not gonna go through all of them. But here's a few guys. Here's a few of them. So as you see here, hold on. Yeah, David Pastrnak. He's, yeah. Anything to explain it? I don't know. National League. One guy right here. Hold on. ZSC Lines. Austin Matthews for the 2016 draft class. So he's looking very good. And yeah, let's go to the jerseys. Let's go to the jerseys here. So I'm just going to go to the right side and go to create a team. So here's the Ducks. Yeah, the old design, these horrible colors. Boston. Again, like the font was different. It wasn't. Yeah, you had a space between the yellow and white. So yeah, it's a little bit different than today. I couldn't have the other third logo, so I decided to have this. So here we go. Buffalo. The old jerseys. Yeah, basically. And you have these horrible alternates. Calgary, pretty much their old jerseys. And then you have the alternate that's their home today. Carolina, these jerseys, basically, and the beautiful black ones they used to have. Chicago, basically the same as today. Basically the same, and their alts, the black ones they had in the Stadium Series, because they pretty much dropped the other ones. Colorado, basically the old ones. I wish they would bring back the foot in the old fonts. But as you see, I tried being creative with the alternate, so here it is. Columbus. It's pretty much the same as today, but old fonts. So you see James Wyszynski. And I tried doing the alternate, but it fails. But I tried my best. You can't say I didn't try my best. For the Stars, uh, they pretty much suck with alternates, don't they? But yeah, here it is. And I pretty much decided to have their Winter Classic ones. But yeah, okay. Red Wings, they pretty much like at alternates as well, but here's these. And their Winter Classic from that year. Yeah. Edmonton. Yup. And I decided to have the correct McFarlane instead of screwing with the colors and trying to be too modern. Like, screw the orange. God's sakes. Panthers pretty much their old ones. Yup. And I decided to have their blue. Basically that. LA, pretty much their modern, and I decided to have their purple. So Anze Kopitar looking fresh in these. This, and yeah, these beautiful green ones. Love to see it. Montreal. Yup. And I decided to have those as the alts. Alright. Nashville, pretty much they're old. I couldn't have the bottom be blue. But yeah, I decided to have their old alts right there. New Jersey. I pretty much used Jersey 1 for that. But yeah, here it is. And then the green, the St. Patrick's one. Here it is for the Islanders. Yeah, basically that. Basically. The Rangers. I couldn't have the real logos on the front. EA, please add the possibility of that next year. And here's the alt. The Sens. Pretty much their old ones, the previous ones, and then the alternate. You'll love to see it. Right. Flyers. I couldn't have the nameplate be white or black, unfortunately. And their Winter Classic. And Phoenix Coyotes at the time. Here it is. And these nice alternates. Pittsburgh. I like these jerseys. I added the Winter Classic ones from 2011. Love them. And they were the alternates till like 2013. San Jose. Here it is. And then the black one. I tried covering the shade of black here. Right. So the Blues, these old jerseys, old looks, previous ones. And yeah. These were the last years with those. Tampa Bay. Yup. And these alts right there. Toronto, again, the previous looks. And that. Yeah, these great alternates, by the way. And here we go with Vancouver. It's pretty much the same as it is today, except for the Vancouver name not being there anymore. They pretty much just went with the Canuck in the middle, in big. Back then it was that way, and these great alts. They need to bring him back one day. Hopefully they do. But yeah, Capitals and these great alternates. The Jets, I couldn't really do the home jersey properly. I was able to do basically. And yeah, decided to roll with those. So here it is. With the... So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go into a new... Hold on. yeah, I'm gonna go into a franchise that I had already and show you guys the settings of those. It's gonna be easier instead of going to new and trying to do that. Yeah, so you know, I was having fun with it. I'm pretty much in progress in year 5, 2027, 28. That would be, I think, 2018, 2019 or something like that. Actually, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, 18. All right. So I'm just gonna go right here, custom league settings. Now I'm going to show you guys how it works. So this was the how I set up the salary cap in pretty much details right here. I think you guys can see it, right? So this is pretty much what it is for the floor and the ceiling. Yeah. The schedule, I pretty much looked at how many games each team played against a certain amount of teams or conference. So I pretty much based it off that, the closest I could, as it was at the year. So number of division games, 30. Number of conference games, 24. Number of interconference games, 28. Interdivision games, I don't know what that is, right? But yeah, basically. So 4-on-4, it was 4-on-4 back then, and pretty much the same point system, and pretty much that. Qualified tape, yeah. The type here, I pretty much did the same in the AHL. But yeah, and what I did, in this build I didn't do the real divisions in the AHL, but I did it in the NHL. So here's how the divisions were set up. Hold on. Yeah. So here's how it is. The Atlantic Division, pretty much all. You have all these 8 teams. Metropolitan Division, you have all these 8 teams. So as you see right here, I mean, you see again Pittsburgh being OP. Central Division, 7 teams. I see right there. These are the following teams. The Pacific, this is what it is. And yeah, I mean, you should pretty much guess what the Eastern and Western Conference is. But yeah, I'm going to back out of this. I'm going to back out. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Click the like button. Comment down below your thoughts down below. If it's your first time stopping by. Yeah. And like I said, please check out the roster if you're on PS4. I had a lot of fun making this. It was a long process because it's my first time making a throwback roster and actually finishing it. But yeah, it took me 8 months to do it. And go check it out. And subscribe. I'm going to have more stuff on the way. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a lot of stuff in terms of NHL content and pretty much hockey and football content in general. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and tell me what you guys think down below. Any suggestions you could give me for next year, because I'm already working on improving it for next year. But yeah, this is the build. See you guys in the next one.